You're listening to the Money Mike syndicated radio show. We're going to keep you up to date and current in all sports. We'll make sure you're aware of everything in corporate and enterprise business. And most of all, we'll share with you how to make a little more money as we cover the NBA, the NFL, and Major League Baseball. All colleges, and you stay tuned for the Money Mike syndicated radio podcast. Sacramento Kings have fell down to 5-4, and see if we can unwind what is happening. Obviously, Mike Brown has went through his challenging times with the Sacramento Kings, and it's surprising because the Kings are overloaded in talent. Kings are overloaded. They'll visit the Phoenix Suns. They'll do that. They got a back-to-back. They're going to go up to visit the Phoenix on Sunday and the San Antonio Spurs on Monday. I want to kind of get into De'Aaron Fox, really, because this one here really is got to get turned around. And it's one of those situations. I'll give you an example. Sometimes you get the keys to your car, and the car is a Rolls Royce, and now you got a chauffeur, and you don't have to drive the car yourself. And what do I mean by that? You got Fox is still averaging 24 points, 4.6 boards, 4.6 assists, 2 threes, and 1.9 steals. And to the average eye, you would look at that and say, well, that's great numbers, but it's not. And this is a maturation process that Monty McClure, the Kings general manager, has put in front of De'Aaron Fox. And what do I mean by that? When you have a situation, you've got DeMar DeRozan has arrived in Sacramento. Okay, DeMar DeRozan has arrived in Sacramento. That's a consummate pro. Okay, that takes workload, and it also takes scoring off of Fox. But Fox is still leading the Kings in the scoring. And this is kind of confusing because you got Monk comes in there. You got Murray, you got Sabonis, and you got DeMar DeRozan. I'm trying to figure out how is Fox still leading the team in scoring. It's not going to work, and you got to look at this collectively and just say, okay, well, what are the Kings going to do? Because again, you're gonna face this everywhere you go, and if he keeps scoring, here's a challenge. And most of the points guards, and I try to explain in a very common way. The point guards that win NBA championships do not lead their teams in scoring, right? And so Monty McClure, the Kings general manager, has been taking the load off. And now it's time for De'Aaron Fox to just take the full load off and say, hey, you know what? I'm good to go. Now, here's the deal that's going to be a little bit tough for Fox, right? Because you're trying to max out. You turned down $165 million last year. Right. So at the end of the day, you're trying to max out and maximize your contract. But the Kings won't win a championship. And I mentioned this about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I said, hey, you know what? This thing's going to work itself into a situation where the Kings are going to eventually have to either trade De'Aaron Fox, or De'Aaron Fox going to have to trade himself and be a point guard, because there's too much talent on the Sacramento Kings now. And it's so much talent, we can win ball games. Sacramento Kings, okay, Mike Brown can win ball games, which De'Aaron Fox scoring 10 points. I mean, you got to understand, you got DeMar DeRozan. I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to look away. You got DeMar DeRozan, you got Sabonis, you got Murray, you got Monk, you got Herter, you got Ellis, you got Lyles. Okay, do I need to keep going? Do I really need to keep going? Because here's where I'm trying to figure this out, okay? Fox is averaging 24.6 points a game. He needs to be down in somewhere going to be about 12 to 15 a game. Those assists that he's got, that kind of talent surrounding him, those assists should go up to 8, 9, 10, 11 assists a game. And it's a functionality of the point guard, and it's a maturation process. But you got to understand that, Fox is looking at a couple different things. I don't know how he doesn't see this. I think that the way that he wants to win, it's not possible. And I've looked at this, and I've looked at this for years and years and years in the WNBA. Folks, I'll tell you, if you want to go back and look at point guards that have NBA championships, they're not the leading scorers on the team. They do not lead in the team scoring. You have a supporting cast. You have DeMar DeRozan's a consummate pro. DeMar, and the story about DeMar, I go way back. I had a chance to see Vivek talking to Master P, and I'll tell you a quick story. Master P at the Master P Miller Ballers. When we first associated, went down to LA, played in a tournament down there, ended up playing Master P. And it was a good game. I mean, he had DeMar DeRozan, obviously. And we were able to do some things that were really good, and it was just a great matchup, right? But when you look at it, and you look at it totally, Master P, after we played him in Los Angeles, he flew out and to Sacramento up to Kennedy High School and came up and picked up 3 more of our players and took them on the road with the Master P Ballers. One of them was Kenny Wiggins, who ended up playing in the NFL. And also you had AJ and Romeo was playing then. But the game we played up there, we also had a NBA player as well. It was Armand Johnson, right? He ended up Nevada Reno going over with Team California going against the P. Miller Ballers. Great game. You're not going to beat P no matter how you charge. Good to see him in there with B-back. But when DeMar's here, you have to understand DeMar is a consummate pro. DeMar is the leader of the Kings, right? Monty brought him for the veteran experience. You got Murray. Okay, Murray is a solid. He reminds me so much of Tim Duncan. He looks like a twin, right? And then you got Sabonis as an all-star. So you got to tailor that to the 3, 4, and 5 is where you get the work. And the game turns into what you call an inside-out game, right? It's not an outside-in game. And that's where the Kings are going to have to balance. The Kings will finish 500 if Fox scoring doesn't go down. And what do I mean by that? You got DeMar scoring 24.2, which has got a good clip. DeMar's consistent. And the one thing you get out of DeMar, he's going to be able to consistent play the game, going to be able to pass. I mean, he just has always been that way. And like I said, I go back all he's 16 years old, had a chance to communicate with his father, Frank. Just a great man. But you got Master P here. Master P is a very intelligent coach. I mean, he could coach in the NBA if he had to, but he's so busy doing other things, right? So he got some bonus. He's at a 20-point clip, and he's supposed to be there. And then he also got Monk at 13, and you got Herter, right? And you got Ellis. So you got enough support that if De'Aaron Fox said, look, if I don't score any points tonight, we can still win. And that's a maturation process that has to go down in a point guard's mind. You have to visualize yourself not getting 20 or 30 points a game. The supporting cast is an all-star supporting cast. Okay, and Monk, ever since Monk has come into Sacramento, Monk has been a 6-man off the bench playing like a starter. So when you have that much muscle around you, you got to use the muscle. Let the muscle do the heavy lifting. As I told you, I mean, you got De'Aaron Fox who's got a Rolls Royce, and he's got chauffeurs. He could pick a chauffeur any night of the week. On Sunday, he could pick Murray. On Monday, he could pick Sabonis. Tuesday, he could pick DeRozan, right? He's got that much talent, and Monk's going to sprinkle it in where it goes. But at some point, you're going to have to let this do what Monty McClair, the general manager, wanted it to do. And what did he expect? Okay, so he brings in, you got to think about this, right? He brings in, okay, all-star DeMar DeRozan, averaging 25 points, 4 rebounds, 3.9 assists. That's locked, okay? Then you got Murray, the Sacramento supporting cast is so good that it's impossible for them to be sitting in the middle of the division, okay? And this one's going to have to turn its way, and Monty has moved everybody out since he drafted Fox, with Fox to take the leadership and be able to control this. Now, if he can't control it, the Kings aren't going to win. And eventually, you're going to have to make a major decision. I saw this 3 months ago. Everybody said I was nuts. But if you have a season this year, and I'll lay it out for you, if Fox is the leading scorer, the Kings aren't going to win. They're not going to win. The cast is designed for them to do the heavy lifting, and you do the light lifting. Now, is it going to come to that? Well, you know what? Maybe so, because you got to look at it. Wednesday win, Murray dropped 22. The Kings are loaded with offense. Okay, they can play team defense. The challenge that Fox has to do is can't be pressing so much that it causes the Kings to lose. Now, when you look at that and you kind of back that up, you're getting to that stage where the Kings, they've improved every year. They fell back, but the other reasoning behind that, everybody else in the NBA is getting better too. So even though the Kings are improving, everybody else is improving around you. So now you got to find the balance. But if Fox can tempo out the game, if he can tempo it out, and he can utilize the resources that Monty McClair's done for him, Mike Brown's just going to pull his hair out, but he didn't have any, right?
You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Show. We're going to keep you up to date and current in all sports. We'll make sure you're aware of everything in corporate and enterprise business. And most of all, we'll share with you how to make a little more money as we cover the NBA, the NFL, and Major League Baseball. All colleges, and you stay tuned for the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast.
He's just going to go nuts over there because he's going to get frustrated. And I'm telling you, there's only one secret key to the Sacramento Kings car, and that's De'Aaron Fox, utilizing the supporting cast. If he does that, Kings are going to be on their way. I can tell you that right away. If he doesn't do that, the Kings are going to still be doing what they're doing, and that's a tough spot to be. So you got to look at that, and you got to say to yourself, what are we going to do, right? I mean, he's got to bring the shooting volume down. If he does that, then he's going to be fine. The assists have got to go up. The turnovers got to stay consistent, 2-to-1, 3-to-1 ratio, and you just got to play it out. He's got to go back to the Kentucky days, right, where he had all those stars on Kentucky. You're not going to score 30 on Kentucky, right? I mean, you're going to have good games, but you got so much supporting cast. That's where the Kings are at. We'll know more Sunday and Monday how this thing filters out. We'll take you there day